All right, he's back. Rufat Agayev, ex-Christian rapper turned atheist, comedian. We're going to talk about some things, and he got some words for some of y'all. Don't go anywhere.
Look in the camera, or I look at you? I'm going to look at you. It's looking in the camera's weird.
Hey, yo, what's going on? My name is Ruslan with KingsDreamENT.com. This channel exists to encourage, empower, and inspire you to live out God's dream. We've been having some fun conversations lately, and today I have another one of my favorite people back to chop it up with you guys about all kinds of fun stuff we're going to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Rufat Agayev. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Rufat from Rufat Entertainment. I'm here to debilitate you with crippling anxiety and make sure that you really question everything there is to life.
Got it. So last time we had you on, we talked about all kinds of stuff. We talked about Jesus. We talked about what else we talked about? We talked about evolution.
We talked about evolution. I mean, I didn't give. I feel like we were having a comfortable conversation. I'm not a scientist, you know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So
what do I know?
Just so y'all know, we're gonna have Rufat on regularly.
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to have dialogue with people we disagree with. Hopefully this channel could be
Atheist.
Hopefully this channel could be a manifestation of us disagreeing with people. Rufat's really excited about that. So the last video had a good amount of controversy. You got a lot of hate in the comments.
No, I'm surprised at how annoying your fan base is.
What you mean?
You have to make a living off of these people. They're so it's so hard to please them.
What are you talking about?
They don't believe anything. They kept telling me that I wasn't really saved. I guess if it makes them feel better that I was never saved, there you go. I mean, how can I... Here's the thing I don't want to say, like, when people say that I wasn't really saved, how can I be something that doesn't even exist? So, yeah, I was...
Well, how can you claim something that doesn't really exist?
I know. It was all a farce back then. It was all a farce. And actually, the people that say that I wasn't saved, they kind of agree with me. Because it was a farce. They're like, it was fake. I know it was fake. I agree with you.
So the people you're mad at for being mean to you in the comment section are actually right.
We actually agree with them, yeah. Yeah, it was fake. I wasn't saved because you can't be saved.
That's awesome. So we just got back from seeing you live, which was really dope.
Live. Not on my on a webcam feed.
Live. We did it. You did an open mic.
No,
so not an open mic. It was
Don't
like a
disrespect me
comedy
like
show.
that.
Excuse me.
This camera's rolling. Open. I haven't been in an open mic in years.
For real?
I'm playing.
So yeah, we went out and we went to this real cool little comedy spot in the basement of a bar. It was
a bar, yeah.
And what was the theme of the night? What was this? Because it was really dope.
Show me your mama or whatever. It was basically like about they tried to do a theme, but they're high half the time, so it just doesn't really, they can't execute it properly. But they're supposed to like show pictures of your mom. Then they said they'd Photoshop it in. It was weird, but I guess shout out to Vinay and his friend, I forgot his name, but...
Well, you killed it. I think me and Civ, shout out to Civ who's in the house with us. Me and Civ were both both agreed that you had the strongest set of the night.
Which, I mean, your opinions mean nothing, and I'll still feel the way I feel about it.
You didn't feel like you had the strongest set of the night?
I don't really ever look at anything like that. Like, I don't ever try to, like, judge my performance off of whoever else's performance is there. I just try to fill out... I have my own mission for what I wanted to accomplish that night or what I was working on, and yeah. So now I don't ever try to. I had set of the night. The Bible talks about pride, man. So that's one thing it was right about.
That's the pride thing it was right about.
Yeah.
All right. So,
is that why you guys are against the pride parades?
All right. Look, we're not gonna be. That's funny. Let's talk about, man, there's so much I want to talk to you about. But you are an atheist. I
Yeah,
think you're more of a.
I'm much more than that.
I think you're more agnostic leaning, and that's kind of what the comment section even said. It's like when they actually heard you speak, it sounds more agnostic, but you're sticking to that atheist thing.
What am I sticking to? I mean, if there's nothing you're not sticking to, I'm not sticking to anything, but I'm just, I don't believe in anything. I'm not gonna say that there can't, but I mean, I do have a definition as to what there can definitely not be, and there's not a personal, personified Father God that interferes with the way that the universe works.
One of your biggest pushbacks, and you said it last time, was you were like, when you were a Christian, you were really about the miracles, right? And you wanted to do some Avengers-ish.
Oh yeah.
But you don't believe in miracles.
No, I do not believe in miracles.
Okay, explain that.
A miracle, to me, you could look up at other definitions, but when we talk about miracles, and especially like when people talk about miracles happening to them in this life, it is prideful. I know we like kind of on the topic of pride, but it's very prideful for somebody to think God helped them out, right? And what, God just totally forgot about billions and billions of other people that day that were maybe billions weren't killed that day, but I'm saying there's like innocent people that were slain that day. What happened with them? Why didn't anybody interfere on their behalf? And I mean, if you really want to talk about how I feel after a good comedy set, that's how I feel. No matter how good I do, I still keep in my mind that like there's people doing things that they don't love. There's innocent people being beheaded somewhere, and it keeps me humble.
So a miracle is an event not explicable by natural or scientific laws. Such an event may be attributed to a supernatural being, magic or miracle worker, a saint or a religious leader.
Exactly.
I think that's a pretty broad definition, though.
Yeah, and clearly you've attributed it to something.
Yes.
And you have not seen anything as close as to what the Bible describes. You haven't seen a staff turn into a snake. You haven't seen physical limbs grow back on a body. You haven't seen the dead being raised. There's anybody, come on, drop those links in the YouTube this time when you're answering back. Let me see them rose from the dead videos. Not them hell stories that they do on TBN where like I was dead and I seen fire. Yeah, we all seen the fire. But you don't see those type of things happening today, which definitely leads me to believe whatever they were talking about in the book was clearly allegory, was clearly fake, was made up.
What happens to you when you do meet people who do have, by the definition of this...
Describe these miracles that you're talking about.
My my worship pastor, Pastor Travis Taylor, real person, you maybe meet him someday. He has a chronic type of leukemia. Okay. And something that would like never go away. Not the type where you have to like, you know what I'm saying? You're about to die. It's like he has to take a pill, this whole thing. And after walking through the process, church praying for him, we're still working through modern medicine. They cannot
still working through medicine.
Still medicine, which I'm not. Miracles don't have to be outside of modern medicine, but on the other side of all this, they cannot find a trace of this leukemia in his blood anymore. Okay, and the doctors are like, this is unexplainable. There's no explanation.
Unexplainable things.
Okay, so that's a miracle, but that is a miracle by the definition of a miracle. Bro. That is a miracle. He had something that was chronic that was never going to go away, and it went away.
I'm sure there's medically. That's like the thing that I really hate. Is when people are like, the doctor said I would never walk again, and I'm walking. Let me talk to the doctors that you talked about that said because no doctor just comes in and says, there's always chances there's possibilities. Sometimes the outcomes look bleak. Sometimes they give you a timetable and you completely outlive it and live. The unexplainable does happen. Things that are different.
So miracles happen.
Things that are different from what we're usually used to happen, and they're usually attributed, if not always, on a large scale, to science, to technology, to us as people dissecting. Like, think about when people back in the day were like 5'3". That was a tall guy back in the day, and people would live 30 years. If you were to tell people now, average age is 70 years old, you can go to the doctor on your phone through an app, like, they wouldn't even know what the hell you're talking about. Is that a miracle? No, it's human ingenuity. It's us believing in ourselves to do better. And
another example, we just had Pastor Will Speaks on. Pastor Will Speaks, by the age of 5, had over 50 surgeries on his throat. Doctors told his family he would never speak. They said he would probably suffocate because of a growing thing in his throat. You can go watch this interview.
I want to speak to his doctors. That's who I want to speak to.
By the time he was a teenager, he had over 80 surgeries on his throat. At the age of 6, he spoke for the first time. Doctor said he'd never speak. Doctor said he'd probably suffocate. That is a miracle. He spoke. He wasn't supposed to speak. That is a miracle.
Okay.
So stuff happens.
I mean, yeah, but can we also talk about all the other...
In the comments section, leave miracle stories behind for Rufat to read.
Leave all the miracles.
All those behind.
And you know what I'll do? I'll reply to them with death stories of when people died, when they weren't supposed to.
But just because someone doesn't get healed or a miracle doesn't happen, that doesn't mean that miracles don't happen.
But so what is this thing of... And I know what they're going to answer is like, oh, well, God has a plan. And no, clearly it looks like randomness. It looks like randomness. Stop trying to attribute... That's the thing. People see something that's unexplainable. First of all, we're not scientists, most of us. We're not good at math. We don't have degrees in these things.
When doctors are saying something isn't explainable and this shouldn't have happened, we don't have an answer.
But again...
And people prayed and believed and it changed.
But who are you talking to? You're talking to the person that was... their voice came back. You're not talking to the doctors that worked on them, or you're not talking to medical professionals.
So if you're a doctor,
what might have happened?
Comment section, leave stories of miracles.
Exactly.
Below.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this:
all the people that don't work in medical professions, leave your.
No. I just asked for people in the medical profession. I'm sure there'll be doctors who watch this.
Tell me that time where you were resurrected from the dead, like Lazarus, and your body was stinking.
I think that's. Listen, just because miracles can happen doesn't mean they have to happen.
You don't think it's a prideful thing for somebody to just. God took care of me and no one else.
I think it can be prideful. I think it can be narcissistic, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen.
It's a very narcissistic way to look at life.
I think if you're believing that you need something to happen outside of your realm of variables that you can control, and you're believing that the eternal being, the Alpha and Omega, can move on your behalf, and you have faith in that, and it happens. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Here's the thing that I want to hit upon. You and I, right? We made it out of Azerbaijan, right? Who would have thought we would have came to the United States, you know, become who we were and live with certain freedoms, you know, and in church, I remember I don't know if you still do, but in church I would use that. That's my testimony. It's like God seen me through and he got me to America and I found Jesus here. How prideful is that to say when people like my aunt's brothers died in the war? To just like rub that in people's faces. God had a plan for my life, but not your brother. If we took God out of the equation, I wouldn't need to say shit like that. Because I wouldn't need to attribute it to something. All I could say is, yo, I'm mad lucky. And I need to be thankful for what I do have. And in the times that I complain, I need to realize that there's people that didn't make it. So let me stop attributing it to a miracle or some Moses crossed the Red Sea bullshit. Because it's not. I got lucky, and in a day from now, I could get hit by a car.
You could. Now, I think this is something that somebody who people who've had children can relate to, is when our story, right? We both came over. We both came over as refugees. We both came over because of a religious war, the pogroms of Baku. The way my life has lined up to where I lived, the high school I went to meeting my wife in high school, to getting married, to then eventually having a kid. Anybody who's had a kid will tell you that experience is a very supernatural, miraculous experience, regardless of where your faith is. Like seeing a child born, seeing a human life come into this world, and then not just a human life, but then seeing that evolve into a person, like Levi, and you'll meet him tomorrow. Like Levi has a personality, you know what I'm saying? And and he's gonna go on and he's gonna have kids and he's gonna do things. If the stars didn't line up and I didn't, go left when I should have went right, that me and my wife would have never got married, that he would have never been born. Like that to me is miraculous in and of itself.
Yeah, but it's not a miracle.
It's miraculous though. It's unexplainable.
Again, just
it's not random.
Yeah, it is random. It is very random.
I don't think so.
This is the thing about our brains, right? And this is some tad bit of science that I do know. So evolution-wise and biologically, the way that our brains are wired, we're always looking to solve problems. And that's why our eyes see certain things that might not be there sometimes, because that's just our eyes trying to connect dots. You know what I mean? And our brain is always, the way that our brain is wired, is always trying to fix something and explain something. That's just the way our brain is, and that's why there are certain things that people could do to play upon those biases that we have. There's certain tests, there's certain visual tricks that you can do where you look at something, you think it's moving, it's not moving at all. It goes the same way to when it comes to us with purpose and life events. Our brain is just genetically wired to try to make sense of it all, even though it's random. Yeah, some stuff might be like.
So let me ask you this: you as an atheist, that's dope, and I appreciate the science of that, and I believe in science. You may think most Christians don't, but I believe in science. I appreciate science. It's not that most Christians. Right? It's not that. Sim said he believes in science.
It's not that most Christians don't. It's that even all of us as a people don't take the time to really read over things and to think about the way we just treat regular articles on a daily basis. We skim through them. We might look at the title. Well, a lot of us don't know what the fuck we're talking about. And I'm one of those people.
Yeah,
unlike the people in the comments who are so thoroughly educated, But yeah.
So listen, this is my point. As an atheist, there's a degree of logic and there's a degree of linear thought and science that you're attributing to all this. But
you also have to check yourself when you don't know. Like sometimes you just gotta be I don't know.
But this is what I'm saying. The biggest, and this was just on the Joe Rogan experience, right? Where they were talking about this. I know you love Joe Rogan. They talked about this, and I thought it was really interesting. And they said the atheist point of view is so logical and so scientific. But the biggest mystery, the beginning of the universe is attributed to a miraculous, magical moment that no one can explain.
Yeah.
That's not a miracle to you? That even if there is no God, according to you, that's the universe literally formed out of nothing. That is a miracle. That is magical.
No, it's just there's a lot of things that we don't understand as people. But like that event is a miracle. You can look at it like that, but you can also look at it, we as humans, over a large span of time, began to learn things, and now we've come up with things like calculus. We've learned how to build nuclear reactors. If you watch the show Chernobyl, how to fucking turn little bits of atoms and energy with like different heating and cooling systems to run entire towns. Fucking magic. You would think it is, but no, it's just science. And when you talk about the world beginning, it happened or the universe, it happened so far back, like we have ideas, but there's really no way to know.
But a demographic of people that need logical, linear, scientific answers still have to attribute that the beginning happened with some type of magical, miraculous, mysterious
it doesn't need to
thing.
Be magic.
But it is, because it is the very definition of magic.
It can be unexplainable. It can be unexplainable.
The same way that God can be unexplainable.
I don't believe in magic.
I'm not saying I don't believe in magicians either, Rufat. I'm saying that the foundation of what you would call the Big Bang, creation, intelligent design, whatever part of the spectrum people are on, that still is magical, miraculous, mystical, unexplainable.
No, you're turning something that can't be explained into alchemy. That's what you're doing. You're just finding your brain, and deep down inside of you, you're trying to find something to attribute to it. And I don't feel the need to. And why am I the one that's looked at as crazy?
I don't think you're looked at as crazy. I mean, there's clearly a ton of people who agree with you.
I think there's a lot more people that agree with me than we would know, because it's so in our society, especially in a lot of societies, but here I can only speak for the United States. Mm-hmm. You're looked down upon if you're an atheist.
Fair enough. I'm not talking about looking down upon.
Like,
I'm saying
politicians can't be atheists if they want to win an election.
I'm saying there is a degree of inconsistency in a worldview. Let me finish.
Yeah.
There's a degree of inconsistency in a worldview that demands miracles and demands signs, yet can't explain the beginning of the universe. That's all I'm saying. So it's the same. It's the same. Like, where did God come from? The atheist that pushed back on. Well, where did the Big Bang come from? We don't know.
No.
That's where we all got to end up at. We don't know.
That is the fallacy that you just brought up there. That we demand. I don't demand anything. There is a way to do things. The scientific thought, scientific method. If it hasn't been answered by that, then I don't know. What am I demanding? Mm-hmm. I didn't demand anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a fallacy that right then and there is just you. So
you don't know.
I don't know
how the universe formed.
There's no concrete answer. No, there are theories, but isn't that the beautiful thing about science? Is that unlike the Christian religion, instead of saying it happened like this, and I know some people don't believe Genesis fully as like a literal account, and then it might have been a one day, could have been 1,000 years.
Old Earth versus New Earth, yeah.
But isn't that the beautiful thing about what I am into my kinky fetish, science? Isn't that the great thing about it? Is that there's certain things that I just call theories and unexplainable events, and I don't have to say it was a miracle by God. Clearly, your pastor or your friend is saying that God healed them.
Yeah.
That's them attributing an unexplained event to a God we can't explain either, and then we use that God to creep in on people's personal space, their values, their lifestyle. I don't give a fuck if God, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to your friend, I like your friend, but as an example, I don't care if God healed your throat or didn't heal your throat or did whatever. Don't tell me how to live my life.
Yeah, but we're not talking about telling people how to live their life.
The thing is, people use these miracles, and people think about what I said to you in church. My pastor would tell me, we need to have, he might have not been the most on point person at the time, but people would be like, you need to use your testimony. People can come to the faith through your testimony. Yeah. So it's like, no, we do use these things that we think are miracles or God ordained or God had a plan to what? To win over other people, because that's how literally God and the apostle Paul told us to do it in the Bible. But your testimony isn't a manipulation tool to impose your worldview on other people. That's not what it is. Your testimony is, I was here and this is how life was and God delivered me. It's not. And then you pass a pamphlet to somebody that says you're going to burn in hell if you don't believe?
I don't.
My life was changed?
I don't pass pamphlets to anybody.
Okay.
What I'm saying is I have no business of what people who don't follow Jesus do with their life.
Yeah, but let's talk about some of the people out there.
We're not talking about some of the people. We're talking about 1 Corinthians 5. We're talking about 1 Corinthians 5, which says it is not my business on what the sexually immoral or whoever do outside of the four walls of the church. That's Paul writing. Do not associate with those people who are are sexually immoral. Of course, I'm not talking about people who
So
are
you're not gonna
out.
associate
Let
with
me
me?
finish.
'Cause I'm
let
very
me
sexually
let me finish.
immoral.
Let me finish. Do not associate with people who are sexually immoral. I'm not talking about those outside of the church, because then you wouldn't be able to associate with anybody. I'm talking about dispel the wicked one from among you. If somebody is saying, I'm living this way and I attribute this among you, and I'm claiming Jesus, I'm claiming the title of Christian, I'm going to live in a way that's opposite of that, that's the person who the church should be concerned about. Unfortunately, we have done a bad job, when I say church, I mean capital church, of we hold non-Christians to Christian standards and we look the other way when the Christian is blatantly sinning because they're anointed.
Well,
that's a fault. That's a fault of the church.
Yeah.
But if we're speaking scripture, it's not my business what you do in your personal life. I'm called to love you as a friend, period.
Same. I love you too.
Right, I know you love me. I'm saying that's a fallacy to say that Christians are using miracles to manipulate people into adjusting.
Benny Hinn?
But Benny Hinn is a terrible example,
I know,
bro.
But that is the thing. The same way you can find terrible examples in atheist minds, and you know, there's probably a ton you could pull up. The same way that I can find those terrible examples in there. But however, yeah, Benny Hinn might be at one scale, right? But there's still that same thought that he uses in that same thing that's a little bit, not as radical, but still. It may not be throwing a coat at somebody and them being healed of
throwing a coat. Why?
He throws his coat.
Yeah, look. Fair enough. We could point to caricatures that represent a specific world.
I understand, but what I'm
thought.
saying
Yes,
is that like it may not be you throwing a coat, but it may be you testifying. You know what I mean? And using your testimony.
Sure. I just want to make it clear on behalf of Christians that
Christians, because there's other Christians.
We should not be, and we were not intended to use our faith and our Bibles as a morally authoritative way to shove down and make people feel guilty and shameful.
Yeah, and just be nice when like you're talking.
So
about,
we agree. Let's agree on that. Fair enough.
Yes, but however, let's also disagree on the fact that if you come and you're like, God healed me of my cancer in front of somebody's mom who died of cancer, you're being a dick.
I've never shared this story. I don't think I've shared this story publicly. I think I've shared this with you.
Your friend who has leukemia?
No.
Oh, okay.
You actually knew me in this window. In 2004, one of my really good friends, he was on my album called Out of Order, EP. Governor Grubb. We call him Big Mike. And you guys can go listen to it on Spotify. It's like, he's on like, I think 2 of the tracks. And he was a big dude. He was a heavy dude. And he was in the process of like starting to go to the gym and kind of clean up his life, right? And as we were having this like intervention with him about like, bro, like you're getting bigger, like you got to take care of yourself, you got to chill. That last conversation we had with him, the very next day he went into the hospital with pneumonia. Pneumonia is common, right? Like that's not like nothing crazy. Went into the hospital, went to the ICU. They put a tracheotomy in him. He couldn't speak. We believed he was going to get healed. He has pneumonia. People have pneumonia all the time. They get out of the hospital in weeks, right? We prayed. Pastors came. We did the anointing oil. We did everything we were supposed to do. And Big Mike ended up dying at 20 years old from pneumonia. I believed he was going to get healed. I believed that God was going to touch him. I believed to the point where, like, I was like, he's going to be fine. To the point where they called me and said, get to the hospital. Mike just had an episode. It's not looking good.
Yeah.
I was like, he's going to be fine. You know what I'm saying? And I got a call like 15 minutes later, like, Mike's gone. So I've been in that place of believing for something and wanting to see the hand of God move and believing that God can heal somebody and it not happen. And so I agree with you. Sometimes I don't know. I don't know why a 20-year-old died of pneumonia and 50 and 60-year-olds go in and out of the hospital all the time. I don't have the answers for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay with not knowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the posture, I think, when it comes to miracles, we should all have. You know what I'm saying? And I feel that's why I am with you on that like, when people say, well, so-and-so got healed, and I lost my best friend, it's not a slap in the face because I'm not mad at God about it. I was, you know what I'm saying? But he just died, bro. And I don't know why.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not mad, but it's not done in good taste.
Fair enough.
It's not done in good, yeah. And that's what I mean by that. Sometimes I want people to know I say absurd things because people only listen when you bring up a point in an absurd manner.
Yeah, it's a good communication tool.
Yes. However, I do believe what I say, and I do believe that miracles and when people feel like God intervened on their behalf, it is a very prideful thing, and it's just not in good taste.
Do you believe that's like an absolute, like every time somebody believes in a miracle? Like I believe my life is a miracle. Do you believe that I'm arrogant for believing that God, for whatever reason, chose me to have my wife and chose me to have my son and chose me to have this life? I had responsibility in that, and I had a lot of work I had to do. But I believe that, bro, my life feels like a miracle. Like it really does. You know what I'm saying?
No, you feel
I don't
good.
think that's prideful and arrogant of me. If anything, that should be, bro, I don't know why me.
Well, yeah. No, there's a level. There's thankfulness.
Mm-hmm.
There's thankfulness, and yeah, I'm thankful too. I got a roof over my head.
Mm-hmm.
Got a little bit of money in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
progressing in your career.
I'm progressing in my career, in jokes or whatever it is that I do up there. Yeah, like I'm thankful for it, but then again, I think it is. Fuck the miracles. Fuck what went right for people. I always keep in my back pocket what went wrong, and that's what keeps me grounded. That's what keeps me humble, and that's what keeps me grateful. Because I had a friend this year who was Hollywood writer. There's even like conspiracy theories. People think Hollywood killed him because he was, wrote on a black show, and he was successful.
I briefly met your homie at that comedy show we went to.
I remember, I brought you, and he was at UCB that night. But he had everything going for him, and he just randomly died in Mexico, on vacation. And so, for me to think oh shit, I got this going on, that going on. Nah, I don't even. Fuck me. I don't. Who cares? This dude was in the prime of his life, and his life is gone. So there's always that little hint of truth and reality that I try to keep in the back pocket, because that's what keeps you writing every day. That's what keeps you being nah, you can do better.
Where do you find hope? Like based on that story, based on in your reality there is no God. Where do you grasp on for hope?
Humanity, human connection. And I know
by humanity, we're not saying all of humanity. We're saying
not all of humanity,
those genuine human connections. Because the comment is going to be well, humanity's evil, and look at all the bad humanity.
Who cares?
We're talking about genuine moments like these, moments of being with friends and family. You find hope in those moments.
And I even go to say this, that I'm experiencing it in a country right now that's still doing a little bit good, but can you imagine living in somewhere like Sudan? You have to find it in a ton of different other places if you're going through a genocide. I mean, we almost went through one. You will be surprised what a human can tolerate and really go through when they're really tested at their optimal levels. Genocides, wars, the Holocaust. Somehow people still find something. There's even a book that I was listening to about a Holocaust survivor who said every day people could have went to the electric fence, right? There was a fence that they could have grasped onto, which they would have just been shot down by soldiers anyway, and just committed suicide. But for some weird reason,
they held on.
They just held on, even though the conditions were terrible. And I think we as Americans, of course, we're very, what is the word? pampered sometimes.
Soft.
Not all of us. There's some people, you know, like living in horrible conditions,
Yeah.
Flint and shit like that. But what I'm saying is that you never know what you will find hope in and what you will find to stay alive depending on how bad your situation is.
Yeah. And I would probably just attribute that hope to God or there being something outside of us to keep us going.
I would attribute it to how we as people just like, because we're an evolutionary creature and we do find ways, we find ways to survive. It's just in our genes. You know, it's even in a, you know, dog's genes. My friend's dog just bit off its tail because it like
crazy.
Its tail got fucked up in a fence. She just bit it off.
All right. On that note, make sure y'all following Rufat. We're gonna do a couple more episodes right now. Rufat Camp on all platforms.
RUFATCAMP. Be nice to me. Be nice.
Yeah, leave some nice comments,
Be
man.
nice.
Leave some nice comments.